Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Girls Got Goals podcast. I am here with my lovely co-host, Marcy. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, Kimberly?
I can't complain today. We've got our hour of talk before the show. So
I always think that's like the best part. It's like us bullshitting before the show. I mean, like one day we really just need to hit record and like do the podcast where we're just bullshitting, before the show.
I'm not sure that everybody is ready for that part of us.
We could call that the bonus reel. That's just the bonus episode.
That is so true.
Put a disclaimer on it.
Well, we'd gotten the question from one of my friends about cardio. So this episode is about cardio and fat loss and why do I need cardio? Do I need cardio? So first, we wanted to start with what does cardio actually mean? Cardio is a short for cardiovascular exercise, which simply means any type of exercise that increases your heart rate and maintains it. So losing weight just basically comes down to being in a calorie deficit. And cardio can help you stay in that deficit. So like I was telling Marcy beforehand, if you're maintaining at 1,700 calories and you want to eat your 1,700 calories, then cardio is a great way to put you in that deficit. But some people want to just be in a deficit, and then cardio is just an extra if you want to do it, if that makes sense. So, or if you're trying to rid like stubborn fat, as my ex-coach used to say, I had back fat.
Stubborn back fat.
I'm never going to get over that. Or belly fat, you can combine cardio, for calorie burn and be an added to your resistance training. So you can, preserve your lean mass tissue, and it'll serve better than just a cardio program. So we want to go into all of that today and explain a little more of how all of that works and what type of cardio you might need to do for the fat burn, or just cardiovascular, whichever is your option. Everybody's going to have a different way that they want to work it. So,
yeah. And some people love it. Some people love doing cardio. Some people can't live without it. It's their me time. It's their meditation, like runners. I'm not one of those people, but
I don't understand those people. I think they're aliens, but
from a different planet. I wish I was one of those people. I might could eat more, but some people love it. Some people hate it. And everybody's metabolism is different. We were just talking, before we hit record, that your body thrives on carbs. You need more carbs. I'm the type of person who probably doesn't need the carbs, as much. And some people have higher metabolisms and maybe can get away with not doing cardio and have better results than somebody who does lots of cardio, So we'll kind of talk a little bit about all that today and kind of debunk the cardio myths. I think there's a lot of myths around cardio and a lot of questions.
Yes. So I think you said you had...
Yeah, I just have a few little points about why cardio matters. Why, what I think the question from your friend was, do I need to do cardio? One thing like that. And it's like, the answer is yes, but for different reasons. Cardio can be for fat loss because, like you said, it can increase the calorie burn, which can help create a deficit to lose fat. And it's a tool and not the main driver. Nutrition and strength training do the heavy lifting, and cardio is kind of an additive, except for when you get to the points of like health and longevity. So when we talk about cardiovascular activity, that does increase like your VO2 max and your lung performance and your cardiovascular fitness, increases your metabolic health. So it's especially important for us as women when we start to hit, hormonal shifts and changes. The cardiovascular activity can level that out and help with our hormones, and also stress. Like we said, it's some people, it's their meditation, it's their me time. It can definitely help you reduce cortisol and improve insulin sensitivity. And it's crucial for managing like any kind of like estrogen dominance. And it's just overall good. I think the American Heart Association says that you need I think it's at least 30 minutes of cardiovascular activity at least 5 times a week. That's bare minimum just for heart health and longevity. So cardio is a tool, and you use that tool depending on what your goal is. Is it fat loss? Is it heart health and longevity? Is it stress reduction, hormone balance? All of those questions are going to play into how you're going to use this tool.
Yeah, because not all cardio is created equal.
Exactly.
So, each type's going to burn different amounts of cardio. And, if I do 30 minutes of jump rope, it's going to be different than walking for 30 minutes. So now this is just me because I never really thought about it. And I think I might have even said this to you before. In my coaches prior to the one I'm using now, they would tell me, you always got cardio because we're trying to, lose fat. That's for a show. That's our general thing. So you're going to start with lower cardio, and then our cardio goes up the longer you're in prep. And they would go by minutes, 15 minutes. Some of them would be as picky as to tell me do the stepper. Some would say just whatever I pick. Then it would go to 30 minutes, 45, so forth. But all I had was minutes of cardio. Well, I'm going to admit there would be times, especially when I was doing the stepper, that I've done worked out. You're deep into prep. I'm holding on to the sides of the stepper. I'm dying, whatever I can do to get my 45 minutes, because in my head, they told me to do 45 minutes. I've done 45 minutes. But you don't really know how many calories you've burned, because if I'm not pushing hard, you can't go off the machine because the machine doesn't know what my heart rate is unless I'm holding on to the thing the entire time, and you're not, So my coach now was like, you need to wear an Apple Watch, Fit Watch, whatever, and go by the calories on your watch, not on the machine. So that made a lot of sense to me. And a lot of times I would watch with them, if I was doing the bike, it just tells you how many calories to how long you've been. And it was a lot of times, sometimes way off, sometimes not way off, but it was off. It would always tell me more calories than what my watch would say. So I'd have to go longer than what the bike was telling me. So if I was just doing the 15 minutes like he told me to do, I really wasn't burning the calories. So if you're truly trying to stay in that deficit, if he's got me on a 1,700 calorie diet, he knows for a fact I've weight trained, and then how how many calories I lost or I've burned, should I say. So I feel like that helps you stay in more of a deficit if you're watching something like that than what the machine is, because some days, depending on how tired I was to how far I pushed, it might take me 15 minutes to lose the 50 calories. If that was what it was, sometimes it went up, but just say he said 50 calories. Sometimes it might take me 15 minutes. Sometimes it would take 12 because my heart rate happened to be up because I was pushing more. So I did get to where I would start trying to beat that time. I made it a game,
Right. And the key word you said was heart rate. It's all driven off of heart rate, and your heart rate is going to be contingent on the amount of activity, the amount of exertion, I should say, that you're putting out.
Yeah, because I'll come in sometimes and you see, and not being ugly, I'm wanting to help the people, but I'll see somebody on the treadmill and they're barely moving. Like I think it's on one. I seen a lady the other day, and she was a heavier set lady, and she's barely walking. And I'm thinking to myself, I really would just like to say, why? Like, what is your reason? Because I don't think that they understand. I doubt she's walking for cardiovascular. She thinks she's walking for weight loss would probably be and that's just not how you're going to get that.
Yeah. Goals are important, because I will say after my surgery, I started probably on 1.5 or 2, and that was as fast as I could walk starting back after surgery because of limited mobility and things. So I will say, I try not to judge people in the gym because of that, because you don't know what limitations they're working with. You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know what their goals are. She just may be in there to get away from her kids. It could be just, she just needed a minute to herself, But like you said, I think most women who are in the gym, their goal is somewhat going to be to feel better in their own skin, to look better in their clothes, to have some kind of physique change. And I really think even when we get this question about, do I have to do cardio? Why do I need cardio? How much cardio is enough? I think the primary driver, I know at least for me, it is how do I use this tool to look better? Because for me, it's how am I looking in my clothes? How do I feel when I'm naked? What kind of confidence level do I have? And cardio is a lever that you pull when you need it, and how hard you pull it is dependent on, how drastic your goals are. But it's not going to give you the physique that you want if you're just doing cardio. I know we've had that conversation numerous times, and especially getting in there and walking on the treadmill, just a leisurely walk is not going to change your physique. Even if you lose a few pounds, once you get to a certain point, you get to that skinny fat, where you may have lost all the weight you wanted to lose, but your body still doesn't look good. It's because you haven't built any muscle underneath. And cardio is not going to build muscle, period.
Right.
It's going to help maybe put you in a deficit. It's going to help your cardiovascular health, your lung capacity, all of that may help you mentally, but it's not going to change your physique. So if you're doing cardio to try to look better, you may need to prioritize your time in a different way. If I only had 30 minutes a day to go to the gym, I'd lift weights. Because like you said, wearing the wearable and tracking your heart rate, which tracks your calories burned, I can burn just as many, if not more calories, and get my heart rate up doing heavy weight session than I do, 30 minutes, to an hour, on the treadmill.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if you only have 30 minutes, I know when I first started, I had a trainer that, he would do a lot of supersets and in between. So instead of letting my heart rate drop like we're now, I don't do that so much because I'm trying to build to gain the muscle. I'm not trying to really keep my heart rate up.
You have to have recovery. Yeah, I get it.
So in between, he might have me doing jumping jacks. He might have me doing burpees. So if you had that 30 minutes, you could almost do a little bit of that, so to say, keep your heart rate up, cardio.
Yeah.
Yeah. In between there. Now I wouldn't do it to the point, because we discussed this earlier and we'll get more into that. But if you're going to go every day, you can't totally, I guess I shouldn't get into the HIIT, but you can't totally do that high intensity so much every day of the week because you're going to burn yourself out. So I would say like every other day you could do something like that. And then in between that, on some of those other days, do a low impact so you're not burning yourself out.
Right. You can't have full body intensity every day. It's just, you're not going to have good recovery. You're going to tank, especially as we get older as women. Our recovery is not the same. Our hormones are not the same. It's going to do you more harm than good, which is actually kind of a point I have on my little sheet here is, when cardio can backfire is if you're overdoing it. Like you said, high intensity or fast in cardio, too much of that eats into your recovery if you are strength training. And if you're not fueling your body properly, you're going to have muscle breakdown and severe hormone disruption. And every little benefit that you're trying to get, it's like too much of a good thing is not a good thing. It's going to go the opposite direction. And so I think that's a perfect segue into, okay, now you've told me why it's good. You've told me what's good and what's bad. How do I know the difference? So we have different types of cardio that we're going to talk about, and they're all, like we said, based off the heart rate. So you have your maximum heart rate, which I can give you a simple calculation for that, or you can Google it. And that's going to tell you when you're looking at a percentage of your maximum heart rate, which zone you're going to be in. And so I'll go over real quick how to calculate your maximum heart rate. And then I'm going to let Kennedy. I don't know why I got Kennedy on my brain. Kimberly, very similar. I'm going to let Kimberly start getting into the types of cardio that there are. And I'll discuss a little bit about what percentage of your maximum heart rate puts you in what zone for what category. So the simple formula for calculating your estimated maximum heart rate is going to be taking the number of 220 and subtracting your age. Say, for example, if you're 43 years old, you'll take 220 minus 43, which is, age, and then that's going to give me 177 beats per minute. And like I said, you can Google it. There's probably free calculators all over Google on how to calculate your maximum heart rate, but it's super simple. 220 minus your age equals your maximum heart rate. So keep that in mind. You have to know your maximum heart rate to be able to calculate the percentage of your maximum heart rate so that you'll know which zone you're in. And once you calculate, I know it sounds really scientific and really, a lot, but it's not. Once you calculate your maximum heart rate and you calculate your zones, you can put it in the notes in your phone and then you'll know. I mean, it won't take you long to remember, oh, I'm at 135 beats per minute. Well, I'm in zone 1, or whatever it is. So we can start with the types of cardio. And then I'll explain which zone and how to calculate it.
Okay. Am I telling you the type? The list is the first one.
Yeah, you can write
your
what
low intensity.
Yep, you can go with what you have there, and I'll just throw my little calculations in at the end.
So the low intensity is going to be like your longer duration, like we were talking, your brisk walks, slow and steady on the treadmill. You could have like a little bit of incline, just anything that's just kind of not really getting your heart rate up, because it's going to be usually heart rate 55 to 65%. And it can be done often. So that's something you could do every day. I think you do that, don't you, Marcy? Just walk on the treadmill every morning. So that would be something that you could do every day, just, which is good for cardiovascular. For me, that would be one of those things that if you're just wanting to keep your cardiovascular, performance up, is good for your heart. It's going to help you when you are lifting weights because you're keeping your cardiovascular, and which is what you're going to need for endurance when you're lifting. Do you want me to list all of them and then you're going to go into yours, or
well,
you want
I
to
can
do
talk
it after
about
each?
it. So low intensity, steady state, like we said, that's kind of like your warm up, your recovery, like an active recovery day. You said it's about 50 to 60%. So that zone 1 is considered very light. And if you're calculating your heart rate, like I said, we'll just use the example of a 43-year-old. It's 177 beats per minute we determined was my maximum heart rate. So if I'm in zone 1, I just take 177 times 0.6, which is 60. And that gives me a target heart rate of 106 beats per minute. So if I'm wanting to be in zone 1, I'm going to try to target 106 beats per minute. Now, depending on your maximum heart rate, your number is going to be different, but you just take your maximum heart rate times 0.6, which is 60%. And that's going to give you your target heart rate, which you're going to try to stay in for zone 1.
Okay. And then the next one is what they call MIS, which is medium intensity. Now this is where you're getting to be efficient for calorie burning. So once you start getting into the 65 to 75, I think you had a little different percentage there.
Yeah, mine says 60 to 70, which it isn't a big 5%. It's not a big difference.
Right. So that's going to be your medium intensity, where you're starting to get into more of the calorie burn. So if you're wanting to burn calories, you would need to at least be in this. It's going to be for your, wanting to lose weight, wanting to lose the stubbornness. And it also will increase your endurance. So that's also going to help. All of this is going to help with cardiovascular, help with your weight training, help with your endurance. So here we're getting into more of like jogging, jumping rope, like we talked about earlier, the burpees. These are things that also, like we said, if you had that 30 minutes and you wanted to do it in between, you could do it in between, or you can do it after your workout.
Yeah. And your treadmill can really kind of get into this too, because that's kind of what I get into. I start bumping the incline up, and you can go faster and more of an incline, and I can get my heart rate to around 130, target heart rate, no problem, which pushes me into that zone 2, which is our fat burning zone. Like you said, 65 to 75% ish. And if you're calculating that, you take your maximum heart rate times 0.7 or 0.75 if you want to be at 70 or 75%. So then my target heart rate would be around 124 to be, in zone 2.
And here's a good question too. So if I'm starting on the treadmill and you're, say I'm starting cold turkey, your heart rate's going to take a minute to get to that. Some people it's going to take different. Me and Carrie can be on the same incline. We've talked about this before. My heart rate, because I have, hell, nobody knows what's wrong with me. And that's one reason why I can't run a whole lot, because I get very winded where I can't breathe. We think that's because of my thyroid and, so anyway, he doesn't get that way. So we can be on there the same amount of time and maybe 130 and him be like at 90 or 100. So oddly, that's another thing. Everybody's going to be different.
Right.
So I might be hitting that medium intensity and he's not. He needs to go more because at that point he's still in LISS. So he's not fat burning and I am. So it's also going to depend. And we've both done 30 minutes, just so to say. But that gets into what we talked about before of the coach just saying do 30 minutes of cardio. So honestly, if me and him both get on there and do 30 minutes of cardio and then him say, well, I'm not really burning fat. She's losing weight and I'm not losing weight. That would be the way some women are. Well, the point would be is you're doing the same as me, but we're different people.
Right.
So I got into Miss Intensity. You didn't. So you might have to go 40 minutes because in my opinion, I was going to ask you what you think. I would think that just say it took me 10 minutes to get to Miss. I probably need to be in Miss at least 30 minutes to even have the effect of the calorie burning. You can't just say, oh, I did 10 minutes and think that that's an efficient calorie burning state.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And that's a great point because your resting heart rate is something good to know because my resting heart rate is naturally lower than most people. I have a low blood pressure. I have a low resting heart rate. And as you do more cardio, as you become more fit, people's resting heart rates typically drop. So your body becomes more efficient. It adapts. That's what it's supposed to do. So even the same person is going to change over time, and, I don't start at the same place you start at. I have to exert more energy to burn the same amount of calories you do, which is why it's harder for me to lose weight than it is you. Perfect example. And, it sounds like Carrie's the same way. He's starting at a lower heart rate. He stays at a lower heart rate, which ironically, if you talk to medical professionals, people with lower blood pressures, lower heart rates, your heart doesn't have to work as hard for normal daily life. So we tend to live longer. Yay, us. But we just live fatter, because we don't burn as many calories. So anyway, it's a double-edged sword. But yeah, perfect example. You want to be looking at your target heart rate. You want to know what zone you need to be in and for how long. And that's really the only way you're going to accurately be able to calculate the calories, which an Apple Watch, Fitbits, trackers like that, they're going to calculate calories for you based off your heart rate, which is amazing because it takes the question out of it. And a lot of these fitness trackers, even the free ones like on your phone, it'll tell you how long you were in each zone according to your heart rate, which is amazing. And once you understand the zones, you can very easily track it and kind of stay in that. But yeah, I definitely think that say you want to do 30 minutes of zone 2 cardio for fat burning, then you need to be in zone 2 for 30 minutes. You don't need to start out in zone 1 for 10 and do 20 minutes of zone 2. You need to be hitting, your targets. And whether that is you have to start off harder, I'll do that sometimes. Like I'll start off faster, harder, and get my heart rate up quicker. And then that way I'm in that zone 2 for longer. I can back down. I don't have to stay at that intensity for the whole 30 minutes. I might have to do it for the first 5 or 6 minutes. And then typically my heart rate, about 8 minutes, I can feel my body get flush with heat. And I know that my heart rate's picked up. And that's about my, threshold. And as you get to know your body, you'll understand it more. I know it seems like a lot right now. We're throwing a lot of numbers at you. We're throwing a lot of zones, a lot of terms, but especially if it's something you're doing every day, you're going to start noticing patterns. Just pay attention to the patterns.
Well, I get there quicker depending on what I work out. So if it's a leg day and I'm doing, my heart rate's already up. Right. I'm already kind of there. So I think that's why some days I hit it quicker and why mine might be.
And it's at the end of your workout. See, I walk at the beginning of my workout, which is not optimal. What I'm doing is not optimal, but if I wait till the end of my workout, the odds of me doing it are slim to none, and I use that 30 minutes of walking prior to my workout as kind of a mental transition from my day to my workout. Especially if it's a day I don't feel like lifting, if I'm tired or whatever. If I take that 30 minutes, I'm drinking my pre-workout, I'm watching a little Netflix, I'm resetting from the day, and the walk gives me energy. It energizes me to make me want to go do more, and that's when I'll hit the weights. Technically, for fat loss, you have already depleted your glycogen stores with your weight training, and you're going to burn more calories if you do your cardio at the end of your session, which is technically how you're supposed to do it, folks. So do as I say, not as I do. But you got to do what works for you. If I'm not going to walk after a session, I'd rather walk before. At least I'm doing it, But I understand the risks and the rewards. Now, if I was prepping for a show, I would do it technically how I'm supposed to do it at the end of my workout and XYZ, but I'm just doing it because I want to right now.
So next would be your high intensity, which they call HIIT. And I think everybody's probably heard of HIIT cardio. This is your maximum heart rate capacity percentage. We'll let Marcy tell you about all that. Great. If you're already athletic, a lot of people do that. It's suggested just 1 or 2 times a week. So this is what we were talking about a while ago of being where this is something you wouldn't want to do every week. I think some of this circuit training gets into that. And I've never been to those classes. I don't know if they're doing that every day. I would just be careful of that because sometimes you can get burned out on that. And your body will not recover. So that would be something to really pay attention to. If you're doing something that hard 4 and 5 times a week, you could be hindering your growth because your body's not recovering. So we'll go into more of that. So I'm going to let Marcy talk about what your heart rate should be. And
I'm going to back up just a second because I missed it because it was on the other side of my page, is that you have 5 zones when it comes to heart rate. And there are 2 zones that can span one type of cardio. So the zone 1, was like the lists and the NEAT, which we'll go over soon, which is your lower heart rate percentage, 50 to 60%. Zone 2, and I failed to mention also zone 3 can be MIS, the medium intensity. So it spans from 60 to 80% if you span zone 2 and 3. Zone 3 is more aerobic. So when we talk about HIIT, we get into zones 4 and 5. So zone 4 is your anaerobic. With aerobic means with oxygen. Anaerobic means without oxygen. So you start getting into that increasing performance, speed, VO2 max. When you talk about HIIT, you are burning a high amount of calories in a short amount of time because of the sheer intensity that you're putting into it. Like we said, your heart rate is going to spike anywhere from 80 to 100%. So zone 4 is 80 to 90%. Zone 5 is your maximum effort, which is 90 to 100%. And if you've ever taken a HIIT class, you could definitely hit 100% real easy. I think I've even been over before. It's like I was in like the 180s, 190s for my heart rate. It was insane. I was like, okay, I got to take a break. So when you're calculating, so, your maximum heart rate times 80 to 90%, what 100% would be your maximum heart rate. So, my maximum heart rate would be anywhere between 159 to 177 beats per minute. So that's going to put me in zone 4, zone 5. And that's what we're going to hit when we have these high intensity interval trainings. And they're basically, you're going balls to the wall as hard as you can, no sandbagging, no holding back for a certain amount of time. It's usually a short period of time, like 10 to 30 seconds, followed by a period of complete rest for about, 10 to 30 seconds. It just depends on the class or that activity. And so you're going to be reaching those upper limits. So you may get the same calorie burn in 30 minutes that it takes you to get, an hour if you're in like miss or liss. So there are benefits to it if you are really, really low on time and you need more bang for your buck. Or I know you've talked about with me, as we were nearing kind of the ends of preps and we had stubborn fat that just wasn't moving, we had to pull that lever a little harder. We had to, hammer that tool a little more. Our coaches would prescribe HIIT training. I was doing incline interval sprints on the treadmill, and things like that to try to just kick our metabolism into a higher gear than what we were achieving and burn more calories. And that's when we kind of pull out the HIIT, but it's not something we do every day. It's something we only did, I would say maximum 3 times a week, because it does have an afterburn effect where you're burning calories, for a couple of hours after, and there's a huge rebuild, there's a huge recoup period. So you need to make sure that you're recovering properly. And when you're looking at cardio and recovery, you have to think about, the amount of effort that you put in is the same amount of effort you're going to have to take to recover. So if you're putting a little amount of effort in, medium amount of effort into your cardio, it's going to take a minimal to medium amount of time to recover. If you're putting a maximum effort in, then it's going to take a maximal amount of time to recover. So it's like balancing that seesaw, If you have a whole bunch of HIIT cardio here and your recovery is little, it's going to be off kilter. You got to kind of even that out and balance that out. And you'll feel it in your body, if you are sore all the time, if you just feel low in energy, if you like my heart rate, I can tell if I haven't slept well or if I haven't recovered well, like my heart rate's faster than normal, or you can't catch your breath as well. Just listen to your body. There's a lot of telltale signs on when too much is too much, or when you're not recovering enough.
Well, you're going to
So that covers all the types.
So one of my questions was, should we do... Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Is there a delay?
I think we have a delay because I didn't say anything. Yep. I don't know why it just started, but thank God it's at the end. Yeah. Just say what you got to say.
Well, my other question, which you kind of touched on, which is funny that you said you do this, but should we do cardio before or after? What you are right. We should, depending on what our goals are, if we're wanting to build the muscle, would be after, because you don't want to extend all your energy into doing, especially if you're doing HIIT or miss cardio, then you go and lift weights and you're exhausted, you could have an injury, or maybe you can't lift as much because you're tired. So you might not be able to do as many reps, might not be able to do as much weight. So it could hinder if you're doing a lot of cardio beforehand. But if you're just getting your day going like you like to, like you said, it's, better than nothing. So I guess, it just depends on what you're doing or what you want. But if you are wanting to build muscle, cardio would hurt your gains in building the muscle because it could inhibit the cardiovascular performance, which we said. So don't kill the messenger.
And I mean, that brings to a good point too, is fueling your body properly. Like if I eat my pre-lift meal, say an hour, before I go lift, and then I'm walking for 30 minutes on the treadmill, not only am I pushing that pre-lift meal further away from my strength training, but I'm also utilizing those calories that I had prioritized for my strength training for my cardio. And like we were talking about, on my heavy leg days, I'm having to eat, a piece of fruit or something mid-workout to boost my glycogen back up to be able to finish the session without my blood sugar crashing and feeling like crap. So, if you do your cardio at the end of the session, you do avoid that. You want to fuel up for that session, and you want to utilize those calories that you prioritized for that strength training session and not use them on your cardio. So I do it completely backwards, but that's just how I choose to do it.
Well, there's also the age question of, I've heard people say, cardio will burn muscle, you shouldn't do. And some people say yes, some people say no. Technically, the cardio is not necessarily burning muscle, but yes, if you're not doing enough weight training or supplementing your workouts with good nutrition, cardio does not automatically burn your muscle, but it can burn muscle if you do it too much, if you do it before a weight training session, if you do high impact cardio, because like you said, you're using up all of your energy, and so it's going to start burning your muscle for that energy. So you just have to be careful of the reasoning, and that's why we said everything's going to be different for each individual person. There's nothing wrong with high impact cardio, but if you're not recovering, it can cause a problem with that muscle growth, and the muscle growth, you need that rest and recovery. So like you said, that's where you start getting that skinny fat. That's the reason why a lot of times you see runners just being skinny, because you're burning that energy, but you're not putting the muscle up underneath it to give your body shape.
Right.
And if you're overweight to begin with, and then you start losing all of that, then your skin's just hanging. It's not giving you that shape that you want. We've talked about that before. A lot of people say, well, I don't want to look like you, or I don't want to be muscular. I don't want too much muscle. You would have to do a lot to be too much. But if you don't do it,
you ain't going to be too much unless you're taking them steroids. So
yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah. So
I
if
wish
you don't
I could
have
get too much.
I know, right? I need too much ass.
I'm trying so hard to be too much. It's harder than you think it is. I know I said the same thing when I started lifting weights. Me and my friend Jessica, we were like, we just don't want to look manly. And our trainer at the time probably laughed his ass off behind our backs, because we were the typical woman that thought if we started lifting weights that we were going to look like a dude. It can't happen. Those women who get to that point, they are not natural. They are taking steroids. They are taking lots of steroids, not even a little bit. You're not built biologically to build that kind of muscle tissue. Hell, even the men that look like that are running hella steroids to look like that.
Yeah.
They're not natural either. So don't let that be your fear that you're going to look like a man, or that you're going to look too muscular, or, whatever. The women who have the best feminine bodies have muscle in strategic places. You don't want to be building your traps, or whatever, but you want to build some shoulders, because the shoulder cap is the frame of your whole arm. And if your shoulder cap is nice and round, it's going to make the rest of your arm look toned and lean and feminine. And that's beautiful. That's not gross.
Yeah. Plus,
that's not masculine.
Yeah. Well, and it's going to, even if you have like a little bit of lats, I told Carrie the other day, I want to build them a little bit, but I already have some pretty good lats that I have grown. So I have to worry about, I don't want, and well, he was like, well, the good thing about them is unless you flare them. I said, yeah, but then when I buy clothes, I am still bigger around here, but having a little bit of lats there is not a bad thing because it makes your waist look smaller.
Yeah, it's called a V-taper for those of you that don't know. And bodybuilding is an illusion. We're building certain muscles strategically to build a certain shape according to how we want to look. And when you build that, the starting with the shoulders, you build the caps on the shoulders, and that gives you a broader, like, think of a triangle at the top. If an inverted triangle, the larger parts at the top, and then you have that V taper through your lats that come down to the smallest point, which should be your waist. So if you are like me and you're like SpongeBob SquarePants, you're the same, your bone structure is the same from the top to the bottom, and I look completely like a cylinder. Well, the only way I can get an hourglass shape, which is, I think, what every woman's trying to get, is to build my shoulders and my lats so that they are larger than my waist. And that waist, looks smaller in comparison, because it's all about proportions, right? They say 36, 24, 36 is supposed to be like the best woman physique or whatever. Well, that's only because the waist is so small and it makes everything look in proportion. It wouldn't matter if you were, 42, 36, 42, it would still have that beautiful feminine hourglass shape. And that's why we also try to build the glutes, because that's going to give you the proportion, the same look at the bottom as the top, with the waist being the smallest. So the only way that you're going to get that is not cardio, ladies. It's going to be strength training.
Yeah. Sadly, like we said before, do you have to do cardio? The short answer of that is no. It's just the better way to get you in a deficit. There's a guy at our gym, and we were talking about that before this. He likes to eat. He likes peanut butter. He likes to get cookies. So he'll do 2 sessions, an hour each a day, and he stays fit, but it's because he's doing the cardio so he can eat. If you stay in a deficit, you don't necessarily technically have to do cardio. I mean, it is what it is.
Especially if you have a high metabolism, especially if you're a younger female, if you have a high metabolism, if you're naturally on the leaner side, you can get away with not doing it.
Yeah. I seen an athlete the other day, and she put on there, this goes back to one of our other episodes, though, talking about rebooting your metabolism. But she looked good as crap, looked like she's ready for a show, eating 2,300 calories a day, 10 minutes of cardio 2 or 3 times a week. So
that'll never be me, just saying. That'll never be me.
I would love to get to that many calories, but it would cause for me to reverse diet, right? So that is a hard one.
Yeah.
But
and the more muscle you have, the more you can eat. A pound of muscle burns 50 calories per day, even at rest. So the more muscle that you can put on your body, the more calories you can eat and maintain or lose weight. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like, how much more muscle can I pack on my body so that I can eat more? Because I'm the type of person, I have a lower heart rate. It's harder for me to lose fat. It's harder for me to burn calories. And so I have to basically starve to lose weight. And I don't want to be like that. So I'm trying to build more. And I think that's where a lot of women think that I'm too big. The scale says I weigh too much. I want to be smaller, and I want the scale to go down. So I'm going to work my ass off, and I'm going to go to these cardio classes or sessions every day, and I'm going to be diligent. you're not losing fat because you're lazy, because you're obviously not, because you're working your ass off every day. You're just not working it efficiently.
Yeah.
You know, you got to, and it takes time. And I think that's another thing about cardio is it's immediate. You feel the burn. You feel the sweat. You feel like you worked your ass off. You feel like you've accomplished something. And you may start seeing the scale move quickly. And with strength training, it's a very slow process. But it's comparing like a marathon to a sprint. You know, you run a sprint and it's over. A marathon takes a lot longer. But I would say the reward is also larger at the end. So changing your body with cardio, it isn't going to give you the results you're looking for. And it's not going to be a long-term solution because, like we said, your body's going to adapt. Whatever you throw at it, if you're doing 30 minutes a day, over time, you're going to have to do 40 minutes a day to keep the same results. Then you're going to have to do 50 minutes a day to keep the same results. And you're going to have to continue to chase that hamster wheel. Whereas strength training and building muscle is the opposite. The longer you do it, the more you do it, the more efficient your body becomes, the more calories you can eat, the better you look in your clothes. You know, I do a STICU scan at work, and I've done 70-something STICU scans now, spanning over the course, I think, of 3 or 4 years. I weigh 20 pounds more now than I did when I started, but my measurements are smaller or the same. So my body has become more compact and dense with muscle, but it's like tighter, it's leaner, it looks better, you know, it's more attractive, even though I look at the scale and I'm 20 pounds heavier. So cardio is not going to do that to you, but it's also not going to make you look like you want to look.
And that's funny you said that because I was going to bring that up too. You know, a coach was talking about one time, and that was his example. You know, sometimes when you have these people that like to run or that are runners and they decide that they want to do a show, sometimes it's hard to do cardio with them because, you know, they're used to running 10 miles a day. So where are you going to go from there?
Right.
You know,
20,
15. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's the only place you can go.
Yeah. So the more you do that cardio, like you said, the more your bodies get adapted to that. And so then everybody's saying, well, why am I not losing weight? I'm doing this. Well, it's two things. One, your body's adapting to it. You're probably not eating right. You're not in a deficit. Your body's not recovering because you have to rest and recover to have the growth. So I just looked it up just out of curiosity. If you eat one candy bar, you're going to take 15 to 30 minutes of moderate cardio just to burn that candy bar off. And most people's only doing 15 to 30 minutes of cardio. And you know you ate more than that candy bar that day. So my point is, you know, if my maintenance calories are 1,700 and I'm eating 2,000 and I'm doing 30 minutes of cardio, I'm not even barely in a deficit. You know, and that's going to be the only way.
Yeah, you're barely maintaining at that point. And I think that's why a lot of women are like, well, you know, especially as we age and hormones come into play, it made me think of the woman who's been going to the same class for X amount of years and maintaining her weight. And then all of a sudden she's 10 pounds heavier and she doesn't know what the hell happened. You know, I've been doing this for years and it's always worked. Why is it not working anymore? You know, well, it's a lot of that. Your body's adapted. And as we age and our estrogen starts to plummet, we start losing muscle mass. Well, baby girl, when you start losing that muscle mass, you lose that calorie burning machine that's been stabilizing you all these years. And, you know, once you get to like 40, you start losing muscle mass exponentially. And if you've already built it and you can maintain it, then you're better off. But it's never too late to start building it. But it starts dropping. It starts plummeting, you know, perimenopause into menopause and later in life. You're just going to start losing more and more muscle. your body's going to be less and less efficient, and cardio is not going to fix that problem.
No. But it is, like you say, if you enjoy it, I would just pick something that you like if you don't.
And mix it up.
Yeah.
Like I just started HotWorks yoga. And well, it's not really yoga. They have feel like it's like 15, 20 different classes. I've only done the stretch and the hot buns because I do it on my active recovery days. I have 2 days a week that I don't lift, and I need to do the sauna anyway because it's a great way to detox your body and reduce inflammation. I don't sweat a lot, so I need to force my body to sweat for those detox pathways to open up. And I have a free sauna at work I could use, but the odds of me getting in it are slim to none, So I figured, if I pay for it and I schedule a class, I need to stretch more so I can stretch, foam roll, and do my sauna all at the same time. So I've been doing that and loving it, and it increases your heart rate. And so you're burning calories because of the infrared sauna, increasing your body temperature, increasing your heart rate. You're getting recovery. I'm getting detox. So I just started trying to think outside the box. How can I maximize my time? How can I knock off some of these habits that I need to establish? How can I make it fun, novelty, exciting? And you may switch it up. I've played pickleball before, to get steps in and that non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Everything you do in your life, parking in the back of the parking lot and walking to Publix, go and actually grocery shop instead of having your groceries sent to your front door like I do. Instead of DoorDash or Instacart, everything you do increases your heart rate, increases your activity, increases your step, and it's all accumulating for a certain goal. So like you said, make it fun, make it something you want to do, make it something you enjoy, pick up a hobby, gardening. I mean, if you love to get outside and play in the plants in the dirt like my mom, then garden. That's a great activity. Get outside, do a nature walk, play, was that frisbee, disc golf or whatever with the frisbee. Yeah. I mean, there's so many things. Take an adult dance class. I have a friend that takes an adult dance class every week and she loves it. Mm-hmm. I know that, Olivia just started her hip hop dance classes back at the Dreamland Skate Center in Tillman's Corner, and there are hundreds of women flock to that several times a week because it's so much fun. And I mean, you're getting your calories in. Jessica does Zumba like 5 times a week because she enjoys it and it keeps her active. And there's so many different ways. I know I love anything I can do where I can watch my Netflix, because it takes me outside of my mind. I'm not thinking about it. I'm watching my favorite shows. And so I'm engaged in the show and it's a break from reality while I'm also getting my activity in. And I look forward to that every day. I don't even think of it as work anymore because I'm enjoying what I do. The HotWorks, I'm enjoying it. The walks, I enjoy it. Anything I do. Life's too short to not enjoy what you're doing, I think.
Well, and if you don't choose, a cardio or something that you enjoy or look forward to, you're not going to keep it up. So,
correct.
Even though, like I said a while ago, I hate a burpee and I'm not going to do one. No, I'm not,
Can't stand it. Especially since my boob job.
Well, I'm to the age that anything that has to do with scrambling my brains and that jumping up and down is going to do that. I'm like, no, I can't even see straight.
Yeah.
So, it might be at the top of the list to burn calories, but if I'm not going to do it, or I might do it once, or I'm dreading doing it, so I don't even halfway do them, then I'm not really benefiting from it. So it's better for me to pick something that I'm going to be consistent with.
Yes.
And do every day. It's going to be a lot more effective than because I'm going to be consistent with it. So if I'm not being consistent, what does it matter that I did 10 burpees Monday if I didn't do them Wednesday and Friday?
Yeah.
It doesn't,
Yes.
So
and
pick something that you enjoy.
Podcast episode, when I'm listening to certain podcasts or things in my daily life, I'll make notes on my phone for things we need to talk about for the show. And one of the things that I actually put in my notes was I want to do a podcast about trading intensity for consistency. Because a lot of times, something new will come up or we'll make ourselves do something and we're hot and heavy for like a week or two and then we just fall off. It's the classic, what is it? New Year's resolution. You start off hot and heavy and then it burns off. Well, if we just trade consistency for intensity and we just find something we enjoy that we're going to do and we do it consistently on the schedule that we have allotted, we're going to see so much more results than if we try to force ourselves into some box that we hate,
I mean, the thing that I want to do on consistency is shop, and that is not working.
I know. We went wedding dress shopping with my oldest daughter, Olivia, yesterday, and then we all went out to eat Mexican afterward. And then while we're sitting there talking, we brought up Sephora and Ulta, and my sister's from Ocean Springs, so she was in Mobile for the dress shopping. And her and my oldest daughter, Olivia, concocted this plan to go to the mall, and everybody's like, oh, okay, we're all going to go to the mall now and go shopping. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going home. Kennedy can ride with you. I'll see you later, because if I go to the mall, I'm going to spend money. Every time I leave my house, I spend money. I was like, I need to just go to the gym and stay the hell home, because I'm going to spend $100 anywhere I go. It's ridiculous.
That's the reason why Friday I was going to go to Walmart after I left lunch with one of my friends. And I was like, nope, because what I'm wanting to go get is nothing that I got to have. It wasn't food or nothing. It was just a few things that I wanted to get. And if I go when I'm not grocery shopping to pick up stuff like that, for some reason I feel like it's okay. Oh, I'm not spending a whole lot of money in here, so I can just get some bull. No, it's still money because I already bought groceries. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I was like, no, I'm not even going to go. So then yesterday when I come home, Carrie's like, we're going to Walmart. I was like, no, nope. I don't need, no, let's just don't. But the bad thing is now I need groceries for this week. So we are going today, but
no fun.
I know. But it will be groceries, which we normally would do on Mondays. But I told him, I said, it's too much to try to go after the gym. So we need to start trying to fit it in on Sunday.
This adulting thing, man, it's hard. I'm telling you.
I don't want to do it no more.
Me either. Can I opt out? Between work and laundry, and now bands started back. School starts Thursday. It's like every Friday night's going to be taken up with that. And then competitions on some Saturdays, and lots of travel has been done and still coming. Have the bridesmaids trip with Olivia in 2 weeks to Panama City Beach. And I mean, it's all good things,
Yeah.
Our lives are comprised of so many good things. And I'm trying to reframe it with like gratitude. Like, I'm so thankful that we have family that love and care for us and want to spend time with us. Like we had game night last night. We're trying to establish game night with, all of our older children at least once a month so that we can connect. Otherwise it just doesn't happen except for on holidays. And it's like, it's so hard just to get there. But once I'm there, I'm enjoying it and I'm loving it. And I leave so with my heart so full and I'm so excited. But then like the laundry's not done and I still have to meal prep for the week and we're podcasting and Jimmy had to go visit his dad. And it's like, we still have to go to the gym and all these things. It's like, there's not enough hours in the day.
Oh, I get it. We, had game night several months ago and I texted the kids and I was like, we need to do this again because it came up on my memories.
Yes.
But, my daughter bought a house back at the end of May. And so they're remodeling and she's like, well, we're going to have everybody over on the 30th for the ball game. So we'll get together for that. But I want to get together and at least do, another game night. But it sucks that, the oldest has moved away with two of my grandbabies. So
I know. That's like Olivia being in Austin. It's so hard because I can't just drive over there and see her when I want to see her. She's, we have to pick and choose what family functions she can come back for. And
yeah,
it's a 10-hour drive.
It sucks that even when they live in town, because I was telling you that before we started, one of my grandbabies lives 10 minutes down the road, but with work and the gym and her life, and she's tired and her husband works shift work, and it's even hard to see her. Now the house that Kayla's bought is in Florida. We live in Alabama, and it's
It's a
Got
drive.
grandkids that live in Spanish Fort, and it's 40-minute drive, and it's like,
You know what the solution is? We just need
quit
to
my
quit our
job.
jobs. This working thing is getting in the way of my life thing, okay?
I know, right? Well, my husband says I can. I just have to sell everything, and I'm not willing to do that.
Yeah, I feel you.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
Sometimes I am. I got that power bill this past month. I'm thinking, I need a tiny house. Just give me one of those little sheds that you can buy at Lowe's and put it on some property. I just need one room. Me and him can live in one room.
Well, that's kind of what we went through when we sold the townhome and moved into the apartment for a year. I was like, I need less responsibility. I need less yard. I need less things. We need less bills. Like, let's just sell everything and live in an apartment for a year and figure out, what do we do from there next? And it was nice to shed a lot of those. We sold our boat, it was a lot. And now I miss the boat. I miss living on the water. I'm like, I don't know if that was a good decision. But it did reposition us in a way to where I could have a better work-life balance. So I have been there where I did sell everything to recoup, and try to be there for the kids, because they were younger or whatever. And I still got Kennedy in school, but now that I have a little more time on my hands, I'm really starting to feel like it's still hard to balance, but I still feel like I have a little bit of downtime. So I feel like I'm wasting time a lot of time, but starting to feel like I told you before, that midlife crisis, like I'm 44, I'm halfway through life. What have I done? What impact have I made? What am I going to do to change the world? I've only got, I still got 20 years left to work till I can retire.
Don't say that out loud.
That sounds a lot, don't it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say this. So a while ago, because, like, I feel like we're empty nesters, but technically some people might say we're not. I mean, Colin still lives here, but he's 20. So he does his thing. I mean, he might be in his room, but it's not like I'll at least go in there and say, hey, son, I'm going to eat lunch. I'll be back in a little bit. Not him. I'll think he's in his room still. And Carrie be like, no, he left a while ago. And I'm like, so I'll text him like, where are you at? He don't even tell you nothing. But, and it's not that he has to, but sometimes I tell him, I was like, son, it's just a little bit of a respect. I mean, when you're not living here, I won't know what you're doing, but sometimes I just want to know you're okay, still have a little bit of that, make sure he made it home okay type thing. But it's weird, when I sent him a little video the other day when your entire life been a mother and taking care of somebody and knowing where they're at and what they're doing. And then all of a sudden you're not. And Megan was always she's my middle child. She was always the one that was very clingy to me, very needy, very, if anything happens to you, mama, they might as well just bury me with you. I mean, just like morbid with it. And then when she met her husband and now they're married and they got kids, once they got married, she kind of backed off some of that. And it really has happened now that she's had the baby. And some days I'm sitting here like, she just won't text you back sometimes. You don't hear from them. And I know they're busy with their life and I'm proud because I don't hear from Kayla much either. I mean, we'll Snapchat, but Megan even stopped Snapchatting me. And she'll be like, I just don't have time. Okay. So I told her the other night, I was like, I have time to snap you. I snapped and text people when I had all three of y'all growing up. She's like, well, I guess you were just better than me.
Oh, okay.
But,
Touche.
I know. I was like, no, not necessarily. I'm just, but you want to feel needed, and that not feeling needed for me is weird. It's
almost like a hole. Yeah. It's almost like you had purpose.
Yeah.
And now a little bit of your purpose is gone now that you're not caretaking.
Yeah. It's invigorating. And
It's freedom.
I do get used to, I can do what I want. I don't have to semi worry about other people. You know, you talking about Kennedy going to school, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh, that's one thing I don't have to worry about: school supplies and uniforms and, you know, all of this. And that part at this point in my life is nice because I did it for so long. But I texted Megan earlier and I was like, you know, I just hope you know that I'm proud of you. You're a good mother and wife. And she sends back, I learned from you.
Oh,
I know, and I haven't even responded yet because it's like I wasn't expecting that. It's like, are you just saying that, or did you really?
Of course she did. And that means you did your job. Your job well done. Your kids are independent. They're, you know, productive members of society. They're having families and children of their own. They're good parents. Like your job is done. Your life is fulfilled. Now what? That's how I feel. I feel like, now what? What's my second act gonna be? Like, what's my purpose? I mean, and Jimmy was like, well, you still have a family. You still have me. I still need you. Kennedy still needs you. I'm like, yeah, I get that, but I'm not needed as much, you know, anymore. And I feel like now I can kind of turn my caretaking to the world in general. Like, I want to do something more on a larger scale for, you know, more people. I always envisioned myself as kind of like a teacher, a healer, you know, something where I reach out, kind of like our hearts in this podcast is to reach out and help women. You know, it's like, okay, well, how am I going to do that on a larger scale now? You know, but
yeah.
Just
I just want to feel like they still need me. And like you said, I'm glad that I feel that all of my children are independent. And I am proud of that because that's the way I raised them. I wanted them to be able to go out into the world without me and be successful. And they are, even though Colin's still living at home. I mean, he still pays his own bills. He still saves money. You know, Kayla just buying her second home. I mean, she just turned 30. This is her second house. You know, she has been promoted at her job. I mean, I'm proud of all of my children. But you feel like, do they think about me?
I never think that. You're so much better of a mom than me.
I just want them to, I don't know, need me still. Like, hey,
I'm like, thank God you don't need me. You need me long enough. I'm done. I'm good. Like,
well, you know, Megan's talking about Ellie choking the other day. And she's telling us only because we're over there. And she's like, that's the scariest thing I ever went through. And she's telling me the whole thing. And I'm thinking, I can't believe you didn't call me after it happened. Be like, oh my God, Mom. You know, that's what I want. Like, you only told me because I happened to call you and ask you, can I come over and see her? It wasn't like a traumatic thing that you thought, let me call and tell my mother. That's what I mean. And I mean, I guess that's stupid, but I don't know.
I think it's just the type of person you are, that you're very like connected and caring, and you are interested, you know, in people's lives. And so you just want to be interested in their lives, and you want to be connected to them in that way. And it's easier when they're in your house, when you're sharing space, but when they're gone, it's a struggle to keep that connection. And I know we've gotten way off a topic from cardio. This ain't got shit to do with cardio, but we're just being real. Yeah, we're just laughing. Yeah. We just vibing. This is how we vibe when we're not.
Well, there
on
might
camera.
be other people that feel that way.
Absolutely, 100%.
I mean, I have to think at least that I did good, that they don't, and that they have their own lives. And I can remember that. I don't call my mom all the time. So I have to think, well, that's because I'm busy with mine. It doesn't mean anything less. So
exactly.
I try to remind myself of that and be okay with it. But
I think I take the approach, no news is good news. You know, like, like if shit really hit the fan, you'd be their first call. Yeah. You know, if it really went down, Mama would be the first call. So if you're not hearing then they're good. They're vibing, they're lifing, they're adulting. Hell, we're struggling to adult and we've had a lot more experience at it, a lot more years, and probably,
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't say a lot less responsibilities now, but when your kids are young, it really encompasses your whole world. It really
Oh,
does.
yeah.
And I think now
For
that
sure.
it's time for us to focus on ourselves a little more, and like we focus less on the young people that we're caring for in our lives, because they're grown. It's time to focus on ourselves. That's just like an alien feeling almost. And I think that's a lot of the struggle that I'm going through. So it's like, now what? I'm so used to grinding so hard for so long. When you don't, it's like, weird. Hey, and maybe I can tie this back to cardio, because maybe that's how you feel if you've been doing cardio every day for, ever how many years or whatever, and you stop, you feel like you're not working hard enough, but actually you're just shifting your focus.
Yeah.
See, I brought
Good
it back
analogy.
home. Brought
Good
it back
analogy.
home.
Leave it to Marcy.
It's just time for us to shift focus, ladies. We're going to use
That
our
is
time more wisely and efficiently on things that actually move the needle to align with our goals.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Nope. Hey, if you're not growing, you're dying. Like, adapting and changing. Nothing stays the same.
This is true. I just love you.
I love you too. I love our convos.
Yes. So I guess that's a great way to end our podcast.
Yep. So as always, ladies, till next time, remember, progress isn't perfect. Bye, guys.